Okay, good afternoon to everybody. Happy Sunday. My name is Mahama Nyankamawu, and I'll be presenting this webinar on how to excel in math and how Springlight can help your family excel in math. So just a little bit about myself. I've been working with Sherry for the past couple of years, and I've been tutoring in different areas of math and science, but especially math. And I've focused on everything from algebra to AP Calculus BC. My background is originally in engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've been an engineer for 12 years. And I'm also a professional counselor and executive coach. Right now, I don't actually work as an engineer anymore. I work mostly on the counseling and coaching side. One of my passions is teaching math. I've been teaching math for more than 10 years because I enjoy it. And I think that everybody can enjoy math if you have the correct background. So I came to math originally in high school because I really saw that it made sense. And the way my mind worked at the time was just to think about things in a very algorithmic way, in a very logical way. So for me, math made a lot of sense. Another thing that made a lot of sense for me was languages. And over time, I realized that, in fact, people who like math or are good at math also are very good at things like languages. Today, I just want to focus on how we at Springlight can help your child improve their grades in math, not just because it's a good thing to get good grades, but because getting into the really top schools in the world requires you to have a solid foundation in math. So first of all, you want to get an A as much as is possible for you. And also you want to have a strong background and foundation so that when you go into those colleges like Harvard and MIT and Columbia and Stanford, you will be actually able to follow the lessons because students there are really sharp, and the better your foundation is, the more likely you are to succeed. So, what are some of the pathways that we have? As I said, I'll be going for about 35 to 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask Sherry and I any question. So what we are showing here is just the different pathways that the system in most of the United States follows now, the different offerings in math that you can take to actually through high school all the way. So in the very last row, in the bottom row, this is more of the acceleration option where you can go all the way from geometry and algebra to trig to multivariable or discrete math. This is more of the advanced stuff. But whatever pathway you take, you want to be able to demonstrate the proficiency and the excellence that shows that you'll be able to compete with other students when you get into these good schools. We're going to have a question and answer time. If you have any questions for me at the time, please feel free to ask. But I want us to move on to some of the things that we offer here at Springlight. So we offer sessions anywhere from basic math through multivariable calculus, depending on what the student's needs are. Okay, you can also go to our website springlighteducation.com, as you can see in the link, and you'll be able to find when we have our sessions. And right now everything is online, and you can register at that point. So I need to emphasize that we have Algebra 1 and Geometry. We have Algebra 2 Trig. We also teach all the SAT levels, SAT 1 and SAT 2. We teach the ACT math as well. And then we have sessions for AP Calculus, both AB and what? BC. As I said, as we go along, if there are any questions you have for us, we can answer that. This is just the same thing. One thing I want to stress on this slide is that we do contest math, and we have different presentations for contest math. I'm not going to talk about contest math in this presentation. However, if you have any questions, you can ask us, and I think Sherry will be able to answer that because she's been involved in a lot of that. Okay, Here is the basic hypothesis that I have used over and over again in my career as an engineer, and also just something that I use when I teach my students. I call it the 5-step framework. Actually, it's a little bit more than 5 steps, but I've combined some of the steps together. In any challenge, I don't care what subject it is, but especially in math and some of the more quantitative subjects, the first thing is to understand what are you dealing with? What problem are you trying to solve? So understand the problem. I think everybody knows that. The one thing that I also try to tell my students is it's very important that you write down what the question is asking you to do. So that is the second part of this thing here. Like, what is the unknown? Like, you need to write down what the unknown is. Because sometimes the student finishes reading the questions and they're like, okay, what am I solving again? And they're halfway down the path of solving the problem. And as we are going to see, if you can sketch a diagram in any of the sciences, it's a good thing to do that. Now, once you have the basic framing of the problem, the next thing that's helpful to do is for you to connect the information in the question with the unknowns. We're talking about data that is provided in the problem. Okay, so here's where a lot of students get stuck with difficult problems. They only look at one solution to the problem and they don't consider an alternative solution, or they do not think about a better solution to what they're doing. So I always suggest that you consider alternative solutions. Okay. Now, the best time to do that is when you are practicing, because in the exam you will not have time to do that. Then once you do that, you decide how you're going to solve the problem and you solve it. That's obvious. What is not so obvious, I've noticed, is that most of our students do not review the solutions that they've completed. And there are legitimate reasons for this. One of the reasons they don't review it is that there's no time, they're rushed for time. But the other reason is that even when they have time, they don't think it's necessary to look. My teacher in college always said, remember to review the solution you just completed, because you may have made a huge mistake. So we always recommend in the final step, double check your work. Double check at the end of the exam, obviously, because you still want to keep going. So we're going to use this 5-step framework to solve a couple of examples, just for you to see how we help our students here at Springlight. Okay. All right. So I have an activity that is interactive, and I know you're at home. If possible, I'll suggest that you get a paper and let's do this activity together. It's like a 5-minute activity, and it's completely optional, okay? And if you've done it before, that's fine as well. It's called connecting the dots. This exercise, actually, I found it during one of my meditation classes, but it's very applicable to math. This is what it is. So you have 9 dots, and the idea is to connect all the dots with exactly 4 lines without taking your pen or pencil off the sheet. So once you put your pencil on the paper, you can't take it off. And you have to use only 4 lines to connect all the 9 dots. So this is an exercise in creativity and problem solving. And I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to see if you can join all these at home. So you will need a paper and a pen. Pencil is better because sometimes you have to erase. So how would you go about connecting all 9 dots with 4 lines? And once you start, you can't take your pencil or pen off the sheet. You have to keep going. Okay, we're not going to spend too much time on it, but let's just see how you would do that. And why am I doing this? I'm just using this as an opportunity to see how you could think about a problem differently from what it looks like. Because our tendency is to do something the way we always do it, but can you do it differently from how you do it? Okay? All right, so I'm sure you've done that. We'll come back to seeing how we solve it. Here's the thing to realize when you're solving any type of problem in math or in life. You need to understand, how are you talking to yourself, right? Because sometimes what happens to students is that they get stuck and they start condemning or judging themselves. I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. That's problematic. So even if you don't know how to solve a problem, the last thing you want to do is to judge your intelligence, right? So the other question is, if you solved it, how did you finally get closer to solving this problem? And finally, how does this relate to how you solve other problems in life? Let's go back and see how you will solve this problem. Okay, so we are trying to get, let's use this pen. We are trying to get 4 lines, but once we start, we can't stop. One way to do this, and this is not the only way to do it, is to go outside the line. So you go outside the line here. See that? So I've gone outside the line, and then I'm going to go again outside the line. See that? So I've connected up to this point 5 of them. Then I'm going to go again outside the line, right? And then down this way. So those are more 4 lines. So what this is trying to just say is that even though you've been given these 9 dots, no one said you had to stay within the confines of the 9 dots. You can come within them and go outside of them. So when you find a difficult problem in an exam, usually you want to think differently from what you tend to think things should be. That is the way to solve them. And this is just an idea of how these things happen. So in a difficult problem or in a challenging problem, you want to look at things differently from how you usually look at them. If you look at them the same way you always do, you can't solve them. And this was just an idea of that. Okay. So that, you can see the solution here. All right. Some of my slide is mixed up here. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to share here in what I call the growth mindset. So this is a growth mindset. In addition to knowing how to solve a problem, there are certain types of students who tend to excel in problem solving. And these students have this quality that Carol Dweck calls your growth mindset. First of all, do you believe that you can solve the problem or not? I tell my students all the time, you have to believe that you can solve the problem. Even if at the beginning it doesn't look like you can solve it, you need to start by believing that you can do it. Okay? And the other thing that I tell them is, you want to get a good grade, but your grade is not the best measure of how good you are or how successful you're going to be. Anyone can get an A in any of the topics in math. But the danger is to think that because you get an A that you must be super smart, or because you got an A minus, you are not super smart. So you want to go in with the belief that after you've studied hard and after you've done your best, whatever you get does not determine your ability or your success in life. Okay? So it's the kind of mindset that you want to have when you get into any type of problem solving situation. Believe you can do it. Believe that those who can do it are not any better than you. And if you're not able to do it, it's because maybe you don't have the foundation, or maybe you do not have the experience to do it. And all of that you can learn. Okay? So that's the key thing. Even before we get into any of the specific details of how to solve problems, I want to emphasize the growth mindset here. Okay. Now, I also wanted you to think about these questions. So I call them 5 reflections. So if you are not getting excellent grades, or you're not getting the grades that you think you should get, what is going on? Here are some questions that I suggest you ask yourself. Are you getting enough sleep? Because from a neuroscience point of view, it is known that people who do not sleep sufficiently are not as creative as those who sleep well. So don't just think about sleep, think about both sleep and rest, because sometimes you can get exhausted during the daytime. And the last thing you want to find yourself doing is going into a test or exam when you haven't had enough rest or sleep. So all things being equal, you can work very hard, you can be really smart, but you can still do poorly in a test because you didn't have enough rest. So these are all things that are going to help you to do well, okay? Then the other thing is, in the age of social media, are you distracted easily? And of course, there are many ways to get distracted. Like, sometimes I'm doing work, and then someone sends me a message. Have you seen that TikTok video? It's an amazing video. And I go, oh, let me go see that TikTok video. Then I see that one, and I want to see another one, and another one, and another one. And in the end, I don't do the work I'm supposed to do, right? So distractions could impact you. Then also from a science point of view, multitasking. So you're doing your homework here, you're texting somebody on WhatsApp there, you're Snapchatting with someone, then you have TikTok going on the other side. Human beings can only do one thing well at a time. So what we call multitasking is actually something we call task switching. Task switching. You're not really multitasking. You're doing one thing, you're taking a pause from it, and you're going to another thing. So if you're not doing as well as you can, are you learning to focus on what you're doing at a time? Okay. Oh, and this is a big one for a lot of us, including myself. Procrastination. I have homework to do tomorrow. It's due at 8 a.m. and it's 10 p.m. and I still don't feel like doing it. The question is, what did I do over the weekend? I guess I didn't feel like doing it. And that's an honest answer. So how can we deal with procrastination? Because that can be a problem that impacts your grades as well. And for everyone, the reason they procrastinate is different. Another question is, okay, so you have a lot of homework, I know, but have you scheduled the homework in a calendar? Have you got any daily schoolwork plan? Have you got a weekly schoolwork plan? Have you fit everything, your robotics class, right? Your high jump meet, your math exam? Is it all planned, or do you just jump around and you don't know where your time is going? That's something to think about. Then this is interesting. I know a lot of you are in high school. Are you making time for yourself? Because it doesn't matter how hard you work. If you're very tired and overwhelmed, if you're stressed out and you're not doing things you like to do, maybe you like hanging out with friends, maybe you like running, you should definitely make time for that. If not, your grades will suffer because you're not functioning at your optimum best. Then finally, you can do all of the first four things, and the question is, do you know how to study? Some of my students are very brilliant. Their challenge is that during the test, they struggle to do what they need to do. And it all comes down to, are you using the right strategy for your exams? And are you studying effectively? So I'm saying all this in the backdrop of the fact that even if you have good problem-solving skills, these are some things that could impact how well you do. Okay? All right. For any subject, this works more for quantitative subjects, but for any subject, these are what I would recommend as problem-solving tips that any student should know. Okay? What is the problem you are trying to solve? Because believe it or not, it doesn't matter how fast you are running towards something. If you didn't define the problem well in the first place, it's all a waste of time. I hear my students say to me all the time, oh, but there's no time in the exam. And I say, no, there is time to understand the question. Whoever put the question down made enough room for you to understand it. I was teaching a student SAT Math 2 this morning, Actually, yeah, a few hours ago. And she was like, oh, I got all the easy questions wrong. And I was like, yes, you did. Because you think that because it's easy, you must do it quickly so they can get to the difficult questions. Guess what? The ability to get difficult questions right is lower than the probability to get easy questions right. So take your time and understand the problem. There's time for that. Also, we always say, how are things connected in the problem that you are solving? Another thing, are you asking the right questions in the information you've been given? Right. This is an important concept. Maybe you learned something in physics, a problem-solving technique, and you see a problem in math. Sometimes you can take ideas from one area into another area that you are in. Your ability to be flexible and move ideas from one place to another is very useful in being a good problem solver. Here's one concept that people miss a lot. I call that small wins. If you have 10 difficult problems to do, I recommend you rank them in order of difficulty and do the small ones first, the easier problems first. From a neuroscience point of view, what that helps you do is it helps you to build confidence in yourself and your ability, and therefore when you get to the more difficult problems, you have the courage and the confidence to do it. If you start with the most difficult problems, you could get discouraged and not even be able to do the easy problems. So I say, in any exam, for example, get all the easy problems done before you get to the more difficult problems. Then this other one is what I call baby steps. It's similar to the previous thing, but it's not the same thing. I have students who, when they see a problem they've never seen before, they want to give up. They think, oh, I can't do it. And I go, well, you can't do it how? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? So you don't have to see the end of the tunnel when you start solving a problem. All you have to do is to know, what is the next step I can take? And once you know what the next step you can take is, then take it. When you get to that next location with a small step, then other things may open for you, other ideas that were not present for you at point number A. So let's say I'm in point A, I want to get to point F. Okay? And F is not a grade, so let's not be worried about F. But I'm in A, I want to get to point F. It's important that I just worry about how do I get to point B. And then when I stand at point B, maybe it will help me get to point C. And then maybe that will bring me to D, and maybe E, and from E, I can get to F. You are not always going to get a straight shot from A to F. So take the tiny steps, okay? Take a small step and then stop and look. That's the final point is also really important. Obviously, you know that you have to build confidence to solve problems. But it's a concept by a famous psychologist called Anders Ericsson called deliberate practice. And deliberate practice is not just practice, but practicing on the things that give you the most value for your time. So I tell my students in trigonometry, for example, one of the most important things to memorize in trigonometry is the unit circle. If you don't memorize the unit circle at the beginning, you're going to be struggling later on in trigonometry, right? So know what is important to learn and learn it well, right? So if you're studying the wrong things, you're not really getting better. So, and the better you get, the more confidence you get, and the more confidence you get, the more difficult problems you can solve. So those are just the general problem solving tips that I recommend. All right, you've seen this thing already. I want us to actually apply this framework to solving a couple of problems. Okay, I call it 5 steps to solving math problems. We talked about it at the very beginning, and I have a couple of examples here. Okay, my slide is a little bit messed up. Sorry for that. But here's a question that was asked in SAT2 in one of the years. This is a real exam question, and I want us to apply this framework. It says an isosceles triangle has a base of length 25 centimeters and a vertex angle, which is the angle opposite the base, of 50. what is the perimeter of the triangle? Okay, so according to the framework, let's understand the problem. So the problem is about an isosceles triangle, and the problem is about finding the perimeter. So what is the unknown? Unknown is what? Perimeter of the triangle. That's your unknown. That's very important to know. Okay. Then the next thing is, what data is provided in the question that can help me find it? The data provided is that it has a base of length 25 centimeters and an angle of 50 degrees. So one of the things that I say is connect the data with the unknowns. Okay. So the unknown is the perimeter of a triangle. The data we've been given are the size of the thing. So I also say sketch a diagram if possible. In this case, it's actually very important to sketch a diagram. So if we use that, so this would be, and pardon my lack of symmetry, this is my isosceles triangle. The base we've been told is 25 centimeters. The vertex angle is 50 degrees, we know that. What else do we know about an isosceles triangle? We know that two of the sides are the same. So we can use a letter, say x, here, to be the two sides which are the same. So the important here is to understand how do you link the information in the question to the data that, the unknown they are trying to solve. Now the perimeter, let's say the perimeter is P, is going to be x plus 25. But check this out. You can't find x if you don't know what this angle here is and what this angle here is. Now in an isosceles triangle, those two angles are the same. So let's call this angle theta. It's the same as this angle, right? So the first thing we did was identify the unknown. The second thing we did was connect the data that we've been given to the unknown. And now, even though the question is asking us to find the perimeter, there are other things we need to find first. If we don't find the angle, we cannot find the perimeter in this question. So the student has to know what the sine rule is. Okay? This is what the sine rule is. The sine rule will say 25 divided by sine of 50, I'm looking for one of the angles, okay, is going to be one of the sides x divided by, now what is theta? We know that the three sides of the triangle would add up to 180, for example. So 50 plus theta is going to be equal to 180. That's what happens to the triangle, right? And then you see that that angle is 65. The question did not give us what that angle was. So we had to do an intermediate step to find it, right? So this is going to be sine of 65. And what are we looking for? They are known as this what? X. So you can solve for x then. You can solve for x, and x will simply be 25 over sine 50 times sine 65. That is it. It's not the solution of the problem that I'm interested in. It's the steps and the logic involved in it. Okay? You start to solve the problem and you realize, oh, I need more information. But where is that extra information? If you don't draw the triangle, it's more difficult to see it. So that's an example of how you would apply the framework we've been talking about. And once you do that, you want to check. Okay? So when I solved it on my own, I got a value for x. I don't even remember what it is, but you could check that. And when you get your answer for x, so let's just say we find x, it's going to be 25 divided by sine of 50. What is that? Sine of 50 times sine of 65. Let's see. So what did we get? Okay, so anyway, I don't want to spend time looking for it, but you get your answer and you want to double check if it makes sense. This angle, as we just saw, is 65. This angle is 65. The way you double check is that in math, you know that if this 50 is smaller than 65, then this side must be smaller than x. So x must be greater than 25. That's the way you check to make sure that your answer is correct. by knowing what to expect. So that's one application of it. Here's another question. This is from calculus ABBC. You have a differential equation, and you've been asked to find the values of the constants m and b if this is a solution to the differential equation. 90% of students get this question wrong. And there's a simple reason for that. It doesn't look like what most students are used to seeing. And the reason they get it wrong is because they forget to define the problem. Okay, so everybody from Algebra 1 has been told that the slope of a straight line is m. Okay, that's what the slope of a straight line is m. In calculus, you also know that the slope of a differential equation here, this dy dx, is the same as the slope. But most students do not recognize the link between this m and this dy dx because they are not transferring information or knowledge from one area to another. Okay? So to solve this problem, you have to replace this dy dx with m. So you will say y is equal to dy dx times x plus b. But then what is dy dx? The question has given it to be 2x minus y. So you're going to get y is 2x minus, well, you could do that, but that's even not the most efficient thing. The first thing to do is to keep it simple. This m is the same as dy dx, which is giving us 2x minus y. Okay? That's what it is. So once you get that, but what is m? 2x minus y. And we know our y happens to be the entire equation. So you replace y with mx plus b. And then you can solve for this question. For the sake of completeness, what we could do is solve it, but I don't want to spend too much time doing it. But if you were to do it, you are going to get something like this. You're going to get m plus mx minus 2x minus b is equal to what? 0, right? Or you get, you put the x's together, so you have x outside, m minus 2, then you're going to have minus b plus m is equal to 0. And you see that on the right-hand side here, you have 0. So you can compare the coefficients of m minus 2 and the coefficients of what? Negative b plus m. And that's how you solve it. So the challenge was not the solution. The challenge was the student cannot tell that the differential equation they've been given is not different from what they were told in Algebra 1, that m is the slope of your differential, of your straight line. So that comparison is what a student would miss. So we want students to get comfortable with seeing things that they typically would not see. Okay? So anyway, this is where I would end the solution to this. The rest of it is just arithmetic. Awesome. What I wanted you to take away from today's session was very simple. That any student with the right amount of practice and the right amount of proper teaching can get excellent grades in math. That's really what I wanted you to take away from it. And that the only way you can grow your confidence in solving problems is by doing a lot of practice. It's very important for me that students develop a daily plan. Planning is not just for executives. Our high school students, and in particular, are really stressed out because there's a lot of work. The best way to deal with that, as a coach, I can tell you, is to have a calendar and put the things you need to do every day on the calendar so you know what time you should be doing your work. I know there's lots of games. There's Pokemon Go, there's TikTok, there's Snapchat. But when you are studying, be studying. And when you are playing TikTok, be on TikTok. You should not be doing two things at the same time, is what I'm saying. Do one thing at a time. give yourself breaks. Maybe during the breaks that you give yourself, you can be playing your games and stuff. But, and I hope the parents understand this. For your student to be world-class and be successful in school, they need to make time for themselves. They need to make time to do things that they enjoy doing. Nobody can study all the time. It's very important to make time to relax, to make time to do something outdoors, okay? And then finally, this framework that I shared with you on the 5 steps to solving the problem, remember that. The first thing that I said was define the problem or understand the problem. Really important, okay? Then ask yourself, what is the unknown? That's really important as well. Then you want to what? Sketch a diagram if it's possible to do that. You want to connect the data to the unknown, right? That's important. Then you want to make a plan to solve the problem. So make a plan to solve the problem. And after you do all of that, don't forget to double check. Okay? All right. So here at Springlight, there are many, many programs that we can offer. We are a few minutes from ending. And we can help you with study skills for every level of math. And as I've been talking about, we can also help you with time management skills. Because for some of our students, the problem is time management and not knowledge. One thing that I can help you and Sherry can help you with is, how do you deal with stress? Because many of us are overstressed. Okay? And for some of our students, the issue is just about confidence. How do you increase your confidence in school and in life? And if you need to improve your communication skills, we can help you as well. And finally, Springlight has one of the best programs in helping students get ready for college. There are many professional college counselors who can help you. All right. I hope Sherry will be able to share this with you. I put together a list of resources that I find pretty useful for online for students. Some students like to learn on their own. This one is the College Board YouTube channel. It's really good. This is called Black Pen, Red Pen. It's very good for calculus. And this is on Reddit. So you can go get some homework help on Reddit. Okay. This guy is called the Organic Chemistry Tutor, but he has really good videos on math. I really like the way he teaches. And then Symbolab has solutions to difficult math problems, I would say. And these are all mostly free resources. Okay. Anyway, so to wrap up, Springlight, we can help you and your child get into a good college. We can help you with the study and time management skills that can help you enjoy school, because school can be stressful. And if stress is something that you are challenged with, we can help you manage your stress better. And overall, we can help you build a stronger foundation that will help you not just in getting into college, but in life as a whole. So what are the next steps that you can take with us? You can register for group classes. Our group classes in math are typically 2 hours long, except for calculus BC, which is for 2.5 hours. It's just a little bit more work. Because we are so confident in our ability to help you excel, we say, if you don't like us after your first class, you can get your money back. So the first class, you get a full refund if you think that this is not for you. And you can register on our website anytime for our upcoming classes that are in April, May, and June. Okay, so this is where I wanted to end and make room for any questions that parents or students have. And Sherry, if you have any comments you want to say in addition, please go ahead.
Now it's a Q&A time. So if you have any questions, you can ask here.
You could
I have a question.
go ahead.
So, I've always been kind of like average in math, but um, I feel like kind of stuck in my math level in my school right now. What would you recommend for someone like that, even though my current high school doesn't allow like skipping classes anymore?
Okay, thank you for the question. So when you say average, that's a loaded word. So I would say, instead of saying average, I would say you have some foundation things that you may want to fix, right? You want to improve your foundation. And when you do that, you can be excellent.
Hmm.
So maybe part of it is the way you talk to yourself. If you see yourself to be an average student, it's very difficult to do better than you're already doing. In math, I mean. So there's nothing in
Hmm.
genes that makes you an average math student. With the right with the right practice, what I call deliberate practice, you will be able to improve your grades a lot. So I'll give you an example. When I was in college, it was my thermodynamics class. I was sick for 5 weeks and I missed most of the school's thermodynamics. But what did I do? I came back 1 week before the test and I just looked for all the past problems from 5 years to the time that we were. And I had someone help me to solve them. And I was one of three students in the class who got an A, even though I had not sat in any of the classes. So there are ways to improve your grades without getting any smarter. Yeah. So in your case, I would recommend learning strategies for solving problems, right? And also, there's a mindset issue that I'm hearing. You need to stop thinking of yourself as being average in math because that's not true. Okay.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, someone asked a question about the AOPS, yeah, artprobesolving.com. Yeah, they have this website. They have many several free class videos. That's very you can take it, and also some class very cheap, just I think it's $300 or $400 each session. Yeah, also very good class. The that class pays fees. I think you no teacher the teacher does not talk. They just write yeah communicated with students writing. Yeah, some students like this style, some students not like. But AOPS mainly is that's for math contest. It's a very advanced. Yeah, if you student focus on the school math, I think the AOPS is very advanced. So it's better focus on school first. Yeah.
Yeah. And any comments, concerns, questions about our program at Springlight? Oh, everybody is got something going on. It's beautiful outside, so probably not too bad to just see what's going on. Sherry, did I miss something? Is there something else that you would want?
No, I think I will send. We recorded today's presentation, so I will email everyone's and the video, and also many people register for the seminar. Not everyone came. I think I will send everyone the video later. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine you send a link to the website as well and the courses that we have going on, right? Yeah, I mean, one thing I would also want to say is that in addition to math, we can help you with counseling on issues around mental health and issues around how to develop effective test taking and study strategies as well. Because sometimes that's the issue with some students. It's not just about the content, it's also about how to organize yourself so that you can be. excellent in your schoolwork in general, not just math.
Okay, anyone have any questions?